Hey guys, it's Jake from Memory Cards, and I know I've been a little bit absent from the channel, but I just got done with a move, so I'm going to be putting out some more content with Julian and by myself going forward. So today I just wanted to do a little review and quick look at the Arcade 1-Up Street Fighter cabinet. So this cabinet was actually sent over to us from Arcade 1-Up, and they were very gracious and kind enough to do this for us, so we're just going to talk a little bit about it. I think it's a really cool design. A lot of people seem to be either hit or miss with this. You know, they think it's a low quality product, and a lot of people will just say, oh, well, it's like $300. Like, you know, you're not going to expect like arcade cabinets that you would be growing up playing in the 80s and 90s. So one really cool thing about this arcade cabinet in my mind is that Arcade 1-Up actually works closely with the publishers and creators of these games. So in my case here, they've worked closely with Capcom to make sure that these games play as perfectly as they can and as close to the originals as they can. Now, I am by no means a good Street Fighter player. I'm barely a good fighting game player at all. So the gameplay that you're seeing is actually just going to be the CPUs because one, I actually don't have a good way of filming right now. Some of my camera stuff is in boxes still. But two, I'm really just not good at fighting games, but I do enjoy playing them. They can be really fun, especially if you have somebody to play with, and thankfully with this cabinet you can play with two people. It might seem a little bit cramped, and it is. It is a little bit cramped because the top of the play area, you know, they have to reduce the size a bit just to make sure that everything can fit into that small area. So building it was kind of hard. Not really hard, but it was kind of annoying because it's almost like IKEA furniture. It's press board, a lot of stuff like that. So putting it together did take a little bit of time, probably about an hour to an hour and a half. I would say the hardest part was just on some of the side panels, you had to like push them together and then screw in some screws. But in my case, I don't know if this is common with these, but the screw holes were actually a little bit misaligned. So I had to just put it together with a few screws and not all of them. So alongside the Street Fighter cabinet that I received, there's a cabinet with Asteroids, there's a cabinet with Centipede, there's a cabinet with Rampage, there's a cabinet with Galaga, and each of those has other games built in. I'll put up some pictures here on the screen, but it's really cool because I think that they do a good job of actually, like I said previously, working with the company to make sure that these games play as faithfully as they can to the original counterparts. And Arcade 1-Up have actually announced that they're going to be having a big 2019. They're going to be blowing out a bunch more games and a bunch more different variations, you know, with different controls. Just like on the Centipede one, how you have the turn knob for the controls and whatnot. So I'm not really looking at this as a arcade enthusiast because I'm not one. I'm not old enough to have actually grown up playing arcades and playing in arcades. There just weren't many of them around when I was younger. But I really think where this thing shines is just the price point. You know, $300 for this, and I've seen reports of some of them being as low as $100 at Walmarts in the States. For that price, I really don't think you can go wrong, especially for a last-minute Christmas gift, because it's really, I know I said previously it's hard to build, but I think if you have somebody with you, it'll be fun. Because, you know, you're getting ready, you know, you're building it, it's in the air, and then once you do build it, you actually get to play it. And once you get to play it, it really does almost feel like you're being transported back in time. I know when I played the Street Fighter cabinet for the first time, I was like, whoa, this is really fun. It's just a joy to play. A few things, the screen is 17 inches and it's an LCD. There's a little bit of dust on mine between the plastic panel on the front and the screen itself, which is kind of annoying when you look at it without the screen on, but when the screen is on, you can't see any of that. I've seen some people, you know, take that apart and blow the dust out, but personally, it doesn't bother me. The sound on this was what I was very surprised with, because I know it only has a mono speaker, so I just assumed that the sound would be trash, but it really isn't. There's two modes that you can have it on, which is normal volume and then louder. There's no like knob where you can choose exactly the volume that you want. but the volume is really good, and surprisingly, there's a lot of bass in the little speaker as well. So when you hear like the Street Fighter music and you hear the bass, you're like, okay, this is sick. Like, it actually goes, it feels really proper. So a lot of people have been buying these and modding them. You know, I've seen a few people like ETA Prime and some other people on YouTube that have been doing that. I personally don't think I'm tech savvy enough to do that, but you know, if this is what you want to do, $300 for this, you know, you get some basic parts, you get some basic buttons, some basic joysticks, and then you're off to the races. You can really use a Raspberry Pi or a MAME, and then you can put hundreds of games on this thing. I think for the price point, it's really good. I know that they have been going down in price, so if you can get one a little bit cheaper, that's even better. So all in all, I definitely think this is great for somebody who's looking for something just to add a little flair to their room. Personally, it really makes my room feel a lot nicer, a lot cooler, because, you know, I have a PS4 and a Switch, but then having this right next to that, it's like, okay, like, this is really cool. Like, you know, it's nice to take a step back from previous games like Super Smash Bros. And just play something a little slower paced.